The light through the window softened, deepening into a gentle amber hue. A single shaft of sunlight stretched across the room, quiet and unwavering. Within that beam, tiny dust motes began their slow, silent dance. Each particle shimmered briefly as it caught the light, then drifted onward. The air itself seemed to hold its breath, still and warm around them. A faint hum resonated from somewhere deep within the walls, a constant, quiet presence. Time flowed like honey. Shadows lengthened gradually, stretching across the floor with patient grace. The dust motes continued their circular journey, an endless ballet of light and air. A sense of profound peace settled over everything, a quiet acceptance of being. The faint hum deepened just a little, vibrating gently against the stone. A single candle flickered on a distant table, its light pooling softly in one corner. Outside, rain began to fall, not with a rush, but as a slow, steady sigh against the window panes. The shadows deepened further, blurring the edges of familiar shapes into quiet obscurity. A cat unseen watched the shifting patterns from its place near the hearth, perfectly still. Each breath you take feels long and smooth, like drifting on a calm sea. The dust motes stand slower now, their circles widening with each passing moment. A faint scent of lavender drifted through the air, carried on the cool dampness. The stone walls themselves seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting, almost imperceptibly. Time continued its gentle flow, a river winding endlessly towards an unseen horizon. The lavender scent deepened slightly, mingling with the cool stone and a hint of distant rain. A single candle flickered on a nearby table, its light pooling softly against the wall. Shadows stretched long and quiet from the corners of the room, deepening as the last sliver of daylight faded. The river outside continued its steady murmur, a constant lullaby against the stillness within. A small cat rested on a window seat, watching the shifting patterns of light with unblinking eyes. Each slow blink of the candle seemed to release another tiny swirl of dust into the air. The stone walls pulsed with an almost imperceptible rhythm, echoing the quiet beat of your own heart. A gentle breeze stirred through the open window, carrying the scent of wet earth and distant blossoms. The light from the candle cast a warm glow on the floor, illuminating the intricate patterns in the aged wood. Time flowed onward, as consistent and unwavering as the slow turning of the stars above. The breeze, barely a whisper, traced patterns across the floorboards, shifting the shadows with each gentle sigh. Dust motes danced in the candlelight, suspended like tiny stars in their own quiet universe. A distant owl called softly, its sound swallowed by the stillness of the night. The stone walls continued to breathe, a slow expansion and contraction, almost too subtle to notice. Outside, rain began to fall, a soft drumming against the window pane, a steady rhythm. The scent of wet earth deepened, mingling with the lingering fragrance of blossoms carried on the breeze. The candle flame flickered, casting elongated shadows that stretched and shortened with its dance. A single leaf detached itself from a tree outside, drifting slowly down towards the ground. The wood beneath your hand felt cool and smooth, worn by countless years of quiet existence. Each passing moment seemed to blend into the next, creating an endless loop of peaceful stillness. The shadows deepened further, becoming pools of quiet darkness against the walls. A gentle rain began to fall outside, a soft drumming on the window panes, barely audible. The candle's warmth radiated outwards, a comforting presence in the deepening twilight. Dust motes danced lazily in the golden light, suspended in an eternal silent ballet. The scent of wet earth grew richer still, grounding you to this quiet place. A distant owl hooted softly, its call echoing through the stillness before fading away. The wood beneath your hand seemed to breathe with a slow, ancient rhythm. Another leaf spiraled downwards, joining countless others in their descent. Time flowed like a gentle stream, carrying all worries and thoughts far away. A faint mist began to gather just beyond the window pane, blurring the edges of the world. The mist deepened, swirling like smoke against the glass, softening all shapes beyond. A single candle flickered within the room, its light a warm pool in the growing dimness. Dust motes danced lazily in the beam, each one catching and releasing the golden glow. Outside, the branches of the trees swayed with an almost imperceptible sigh. The air grew cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. A small cat settled onto a nearby cushion, its eyes reflecting the candlelight like tiny moons. Each breath you take feels deeper now, slower, more connected to the quiet space around you. The rhythmic ticking of an unseen clock measured out moments that stretched into eternity. Shadows lengthened and blurred, merging with the mist in a seamless embrace. A sense of profound stillness settled over everything, a gentle blanket woven from silence. The cat's tail twitched, a slow, deliberate rhythm against the soft fabric of the cushion. Dust motes danced in the candlelight, swirling patterns that faded as quickly as they appeared. A faint scent of lavender drifted from somewhere unseen, mingling with the warm glow of the lamp. The shadows deepened further still, swallowing the edges of the room in a velvety darkness. Each tick of the clock seemed to resonate within your chest, a quiet pulse mirroring your own. Outside, a gentle rain began to fall, its sound muffled and distant, like a whispered secret. The mist thickened slightly, softening the outlines of everything it touched with an ethereal grace. A single candle flame flickered, casting dancing shadows that stretched and contracted with each breath. The cushion beneath the cat seemed to breathe along with the room, rising and falling imperceptibly. Time flowed like a slow river, carrying away worries and leaving only stillness in its wake. The rain continued its quiet descent, each drop a tiny sigh against the window pane. Shadows deepened in the corners of the room, pooling like dark water under unseen furniture. The candle's warmth radiated outwards, a gentle pulse against the cool air. A faint scent of damp earth drifted in from outside, mingling with the lingering fragrance of old books. The cat's tail twitched slowly, a subtle rhythm mirroring the sway of branches beyond the glass. Dust motes danced lazily in the candlelight, swirling patterns shifting with each breath. The cushion settled deeper, conforming to the cat's form with quiet acceptance. A distant chime echoed softly through the stillness, its sound fading as quickly as it arrived. The mist outside seemed to absorb all color, leaving only shades of gray and silver. Time continued its gentle flow, a continuous unfolding of moments into one another. The candlelight itself seemed to breathe, growing fainter then brighter, with an almost imperceptible rhythm. Outside, the mist deepened, clinging to the window panes like a silent embrace. A single leaf detached from a distant tree and drifted downwards, its descent slow and graceful. The cat's tail twitched occasionally, a subtle movement against the stillness of the cushion. Each chime resonated within the quiet space, leaving behind only a lingering vibration in the air. Shadows elongated across the room as the light softened further, blurring the edges of familiar shapes. The scent of old wood and beeswax mingled gently, creating a comforting familiarity. A faint breeze stirred through the curtains, carrying with it the whisper of rain on distant rooftops. Time seemed to pool in the corners of the room, thick and heavy like honey. The cushion held the cat's form perfectly, a quiet haven within the deepening twilight. The cat's breathing was a gentle rhythm, barely disturbing the stillness of the cushion. Rain continued its quiet descent upon the rooftops, a steady drumming far away. Dust motes danced in the fading light beams, swirling slowly like tiny galaxies. The beeswax scent deepened slightly, coating the air with a warm golden hue. Shadows stretched and reformed, mimicking the shapes of trees against a moonless sky. A single candle flickered on the nearby table, its flame breathing softly. The old wood floorboard sighed beneath the weight of years, settling deeper into place. Each breath you take is like a gentle wave, smoothing out any tension within. The curtains shifted again, revealing just a glimpse of gray beyond the window pane. Time continues to flow, a quiet river carrying all things gently along. The gray beyond the window pane deepened, becoming a soft, muted embrace. Dust motes danced in the candle's light, swirling slowly like tiny stars. A faint scent of rain drifted in from outside, cool and quiet on your skin. The old floorboards continued their slow settling, a comforting creak echoing softly. Shadows lengthened across the room, stretching and blurring at the edges. The candle flame pulsed with a steady rhythm, mirroring the rise and fall of your breath. A distant owl called out, its voice a low murmur lost in the stillness. The curtains rippled again, almost imperceptibly, as if breathing along with you. Time seemed to fold in on itself, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. Everything softened, edges blurring, colors fading into gentle shades of gray and blue. The gray light deepened, settling like a quiet dust upon the room. A single star appeared in the window, faint and unwavering. The owl's murmur faded further, becoming just another echo of stillness. Dust motes danced slowly in the candle's glow, each one drifting with deliberate grace. The curtains continued their gentle breathing, a silent exchange with the night air. A faint scent of lavender drifted from somewhere unseen, soft and comforting. The floorboards sighed softly under the weight of quiet time passing. Shadows lengthened imperceptibly, stretching like long, languid sighs across the walls. The candle flame continued its steady pulse, a small beacon in the deepening twilight. A distant chime resonated faintly, then dissolved back into the encompassing silence. The lavender scent deepened, mingling with the faintest trace of wood smoke from a hearth long extinguished. Dust motes danced in the candle's glow, swirling slowly like tiny galaxies adrift in amber light. Each breath you take feels deeper now, drawing in the stillness and releasing it as a quiet sigh. The shadows pulled further into corners, embracing the furniture with their gentle darkness. A single star appeared beyond the window pane, a distant glimmer of silver against the darkening blue. The chime's echo lingered for just a moment longer, a memory fading back into the quiet. The floorboards continued to settle, a slow and ancient rhythm beneath your feet. The candle flame flickered almost imperceptibly, its warmth a constant, gentle presence. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, a soft rustling like secrets shared with the night. Time seems to soften around you, edges blurring as sleep begins to gather. The shadows deepen slightly, stretching long and quiet across the room. Dust motes danced in the candle's light, swirling slowly like tiny stars. A distant owl called, a single drawn-out note that faded into the stillness. The scent of old wood and beeswax filled the air, comforting familiarity. Each breath you take feels deeper now, each exhale releasing tension. The wind's rustling grew just a little softer, almost silent against the window pane. A single leaf detached itself from a branch outside, drifting down with languid grace. The floorboards continued their steady settling, a heartbeat of the house. The candle flame pulsed gently, casting shifting patterns on the wall. Your eyelids feel heavy now, weighted by peace and quietude. The shifting patterns on the wall deepened, becoming pools of shadow and light as the candle burned lower. A faint scent of wood smoke drifted in from somewhere distant, a memory carried on the still air. Dust motes danced lazily within the candlelight, swirling in slow, silent spirals. The settling of the floorboards seemed to deepen too, resonating with a quiet hum throughout the room. Outside, the branches swayed almost imperceptibly, their movements mirroring the gentle pulse of the flame. A long shadow stretched from the corner, growing longer and softer as the light faded further. The air itself felt thick and warm, like a comforting blanket slowly enveloping you. Somewhere far away, a single owl called, a low mournful sound that dissolved into the stillness. The weight on your eyelids grew heavier still, a pleasant pressure drawing you inward. Time seemed to slow further, each breath a long, quiet sigh. The shadow deepened, blurring the edges of familiar shapes into gentle curves. Dust motes danced in the last vestiges of light, swirling like tiny stars in a quiet galaxy. A faint scent of lavender drifted from somewhere unseen, mingling with the warmth of the air. The owl's call echoed again, softer this time, almost a whisper against the deepening night. Each breath you take seems to lengthen, expanding and contracting, like the slow pulse of the earth. A single lamp flickered in the distance, its light a warm amber glow barely visible through the haze. The feeling of being held, cradled by stillness, deepened with each passing moment. Outside, a gentle rain began to fall, a soft drumming against the window pane, a quiet rhythm. The weight on your eyelids felt like a comforting embrace, pulling you further into peaceful darkness. Time itself seemed to melt away, becoming one long, continuous sigh of tranquility. The rain continued its gentle drumming, each drop a tiny pulse against the glass. Amber light from the distant lamp softened further, blurring at the edges like a watercolor painting. A faint scent of damp earth drifted in, mingling with the stillness within. Shadows deepened in the corners of the room, long and quiet, stretching without end. The rhythm of your breath slowed, mirroring the steady fall of rain outside. A distant owl called softly, a low hum swallowed by the haze. The feeling of being held remained constant, a gentle pressure against every part of you. Time flowed like honey, thick and slow, pooling in the quiet spaces between moments. The lamp's glow pulsed faintly, a warm heartbeat in the deepening darkness. Each raindrop seemed to carry with it a whisper of peace, settling softly on your mind. The lamp's warmth deepened, casting long, quiet shadows that stretched and softened with each pulse. Rain continued to fall, a steady curtain blurring the edges of everything beyond the circle of light. A faint scent of damp earth rose, mingling with the lingering fragrance of old wood and warm wool. The feeling of being held shifted subtly, becoming more like a gentle embrace than a pressure. Each breath you took seemed to echo the rhythm of the rain, slow and deliberate. Somewhere far away, a stream murmured quietly, its sound barely audible above the falling water. The darkness beyond the lamp's glow felt vast and still, filled with unspoken quietude. A single leaf detached itself from a branch outside, drifting down slowly in the soft light. Time continued to flow like honey, clinging to every surface, every thought, every sensation. The warmth of the lamp seemed to seep into your bones, a comforting weight against the chill. The stream's murmur deepened slightly, a gentle sigh against the stillness. Shadows lengthened imperceptibly beneath the lamp. Another leaf released its hold, twirling downwards with an almost hesitant grace. Dust motes danced in the lamplight, suspended in a timeless ballet of light and shadow. The air grew heavier, saturated with the scent of damp earth and fading blossoms. A distant owl called softly, a low hum swallowed by the vastness beyond the window. The falling water continued its steady rhythm, each drop a tiny echo in the quiet space. The warmth from the lamp pulsed gently, a slow heartbeat against your skin. Time seemed to fold inward, blurring the edges of moments past and those yet to come. A faint breeze stirred the curtains, whispering secrets only the night could understand. The lamp's glow deepened, painting the room in shades of amber and quiet shadow. Dust motes danced slowly within the light, tiny galaxies swirling without purpose. Outside, the rain softened to a gentle sigh against the glass. A single leaf detached itself from a distant tree, drifting down with languid grace. The scent of damp earth and old wood filled the air, a comforting familiarity. Each breath you take mirrors the slow expansion and contraction of the lamp's warmth. The shadows lengthened imperceptibly, stretching like quiet rivers across the floor. A distant train whistle echoed faintly, then faded back into the stillness. The curtains continued their gentle sway, a silent dance with the night air. Time flowed onward, not rushing, but unfolding like a soft, endless stream. The lamp's glow deepened, a pool of amber light against the deepening blue, world beyond the window. Dust motes drifted lazily within that golden circle, each one catching and reflecting the gentle radiance. Outside, the rain began not a downpour, but a soft sighing on the glass, a quiet percussion. The floorboards beneath your feet remained still, absorbing the subtle shifts in temperature with patient stillness. A single star appeared in the vastness above, blinking softly, as if remembering an ancient secret. The curtain's sway became almost imperceptible now, a mere tremor in the quiet air. The distant train whistle sounded again, fainter this time, like a memory of sound itself. A cat settled deeper into its cushion, a dark silhouette against the pale wall, watching the shadows lengthen. The scent of rain-soaked earth drifted through the room, cool and grounding. Each passing moment felt less distinct, blending seamlessly into the quiet rhythm of night. The lamp's glow softened, deepening the shadows in the corners of the room. Dust motes danced slowly in the lamplight, tiny galaxies drifting through stillness. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains once more, a sigh against the window pane. Outside, the rain had ceased, leaving only the quiet drip from the eaves. The cat's breathing deepened, a soft rhythm mirroring the slowing of time. The scent of damp earth lingered, mingling with the faintest trace of lavender. Each breath you take is like a wave, rising and falling in gentle measure. The pale moonlight painted silver patterns on the floorboards. A distant owl called softly, its sound swallowed by the vastness of night. Thoughts drift away like clouds, dissolving into the quiet expanse. The silver patterns on the floorboards deepen slightly as the moon climbs higher. A single candle flickers in the distance, its light a warm pulse against the cool shadows. Dust motes dance lazily in the moonlight, swirling with an almost imperceptible grace. The scent of damp earth softens now, overlaid by the quiet fragrance of old paper and wood. Each breath you take pulls in the stillness, holds it gently, then releases it back into the night. A cat sits motionless near a window, its eyes reflecting the pale light like polished stones. The owl calls again, further away this time, a whisper lost amongst the trees. Time seems to slow, each moment stretching long and quiet, filled with a gentle weight. The floorboards beneath you remain steady, cool against your skin, a constant presence. A faint breeze stirs through the room, carrying the scent of distant rain on its breath. The cat's tail twitches almost imperceptibly, a slow ripple across the stillness. Dust motes drift in the pale light, swirling patterns that fade as quickly as they form. Raindrops begin to trace paths down the window pane, blurring the shapes of the trees outside. The scent of rain deepens, mingling with the faint aroma of old wood and quiet evenings. A single candle flickers on a nearby table, its flame dancing with an almost imperceptible rhythm. Shadows lengthen gradually across the room, deepening into pools of soft gray. The floorboards settle slightly, a barely audible sigh within the silence. Outside, the wind whispers through the branches, a low and constant murmur. The owl calls once more, so distant now it feels like a memory rather than a sound. A sense of quiet contentment settles over everything, a gentle embrace of peace. The gray deepens further, softening the edges of familiar shapes. A single candle flickers on a nearby table, its light a slow dance against the wall. Dust motes drift lazily in the beam, suspended like tiny stars in a quiet galaxy. The wind's murmur shifts slightly, becoming almost imperceptible, a breath held long ago. A cat rests curled on a cushion, watching the shifting shadows with patient eyes. Time seems to fold inward, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. The floorboards continue their quiet settling, a slow release of ancient wood. Outside, rain begins not a downpour, but a gentle weeping against the window pane. Each drop traces a fleeting path downwards, disappearing as quickly as it arrives. A feeling of stillness grows stronger, wrapping around you like a warm blanket. The rain's touch on the glass is almost imperceptible, a soft blurring of the world beyond. A single lamp glows steadily in the corner, its light pooling gently across the room's quiet surfaces. Dust motes drift lazily within that pool of light, suspended in an endless silent dance. The scent of damp earth rises faintly, carried on the cool air from just beyond the window. Each settling floorboard sighs a little deeper. A long exhale into the shadows lengthen and soften with each passing moment, stretching like quiet dreams across the walls. A distant owl calls, its sound muffled by the rain, a low hum in the vastness of night. The rhythm of the falling rain becomes a gentle pulse, a slow heartbeat against the silence. Time seems to flow not forward, but around you, a continuous, circling current. A sense of peace settles deeper still, like moss growing on an ancient stone. The rain continues its steady descent, each drop a tiny whisper against the window pane. A single lamp glows softly in the distance, casting a warm circle of light that barely touches the edges of the room. Dust motes drift lazily within the lamplight, swirling and settling like miniature galaxies. The scent of damp earth rises gently, mingling with the faint fragrance of old books. A cat sits motionless in a corner, its eyes reflecting the muted light, observing the slow dance of shadows. The walls themselves seem to breathe, expanding and contracting almost imperceptibly with the quiet rhythm of the night. Outside, the trees sway gently, their branches blurring into dark silhouettes against the gray sky. A feeling of weightlessness begins to settle over you, a soft surrender to the stillness. The sound of the rain shifts subtly, becoming less distinct, more like a memory than a present sensation. Time dissolves further, blending seamlessly with the quiet darkness that surrounds. The gray light softens further, deepening into a muted indigo that pulls in the corners of your vision. A single lamp flickers gently on a distant table, its glow barely reaching beyond its own surface. Raindrops trace slow paths down the window pane, each one disappearing as silently as it arrived. The scent of damp earth rises, mingling with the faintest whisper of wood smoke from somewhere far away. A cat sits motionless in a shadowed doorway, observing the shifting patterns of light and dark. Each breath you take feels deeper now, drawing in the quiet stillness of the room. The rhythm of your heartbeat slows, mirroring the gentle pulse of the rain outside. Dust motes drift lazily in the lamplight, suspended in a timeless dance. A sense of profound peace settles over you, like a warm blanket woven from moonlight and shadows. The world beyond the window fades further, becoming just an impression of gray and quiet. The rain continues its steady descent, a soft drumming against the glass that seems to soften with each passing moment. A single lamp casts a warm glow across the room, painting elongated shadows on the walls that shift imperceptibly as the light bends. Outside, the gray of twilight deepens, blurring the edges of trees and houses into indistinct shapes. The air itself feels heavy with moisture, cool against your skin like a gentle embrace. A distant owl calls softly, its sound swallowed by the rain before it can fully form. Dust motes continue their slow dance in the lamplight, each one illuminated for just a fleeting second before fading back into obscurity. The rhythmic pulse of the rain is almost hypnotic. A faint scent of damp earth rises from the garden below, carried on the gentle breeze. Time seems to stretch and bend, losing all sense of urgency or direction. Everything slows, the falling rain, the shifting shadows, even the quiet beat of your own heart. The lamplight pools on the windowsill, a warm amber glow against the gray of the rain-streaked glass. Each droplet tracing its own slow path downwards, blurring the world outside just slightly. Below in the garden, the lavender bushes sway with an almost imperceptible rhythm. A single robin sits perched on a branch, feathers ruffled by the damp air, perfectly still. The scent of wet stone drifts up from the patio, mingling with the earthy fragrance below. Shadows lengthen and soften in the corners of the room, deepening as the evening progresses. The rain continues its steady drumming on the roof, a constant, comforting presence. A faint shimmer appears on the polished wood floor where the lamplight touches it. Time seems to flow like water, smooth and continuous, without beginning or end. Your breath deepens, mirroring the slow rise and fall of your chest with each passing moment. The lamplight pulls further, a warm amber glow spreading across the floorboards. Dust motes drift lazily within that light, suspended in an endless, silent dance. Outside, the rain's rhythm shifts subtly, a quieter patter against the window pane now. A single leaf detaches itself from a distant tree and spirals downwards, unseen. The scent of damp earth rises gently, mingling with the faint fragrance of old wood. Shadows stretch longer still, blurring the edges of familiar shapes into soft obscurity. The polished floor reflects the lamplight, back towards the ceiling in a gentle shimmer. A quiet stillness settles over everything, a deep and pervasive calm. Time continues its slow unfurling, like petals on a night-blooming flower. Each breath you take is a small wave, rippling outwards into the deepening peace. The lamplight pools, a warm amber glow against the cool stone walls. Dust motes drift lazily within its beam, each one a tiny world suspended in stillness. Outside, a gentle rain begins to fall, a soft drumming on the window panes. It's a quiet rain, not rushing or insistent, but a steady whisper against the glass. The scent of damp earth rises, mingling with the faint fragrance of old books. A single candle flickers in the distance, its light barely visible through the gathering dusk. Shadows lengthen and soften, absorbing the sharp corners of the room. The polished floor grows cooler beneath your touch, a smooth and comforting weight. Each breath you take seems to deepen the quiet, drawing it closer. Time flows onward, measured only by the slow descent of the rain. The rain continues its gentle descent, each drop a tiny sigh against the window pane. A faint scent of damp earth drifts in on the breeze, mingling with the stillness. The candle's flame dances almost imperceptibly, casting elongated shadows that breathe with the air. Dust motes drift lazily within the candlelight, swirling and settling like miniature stars. The polished floor reflects the muted light, a dark mirror mirroring the deepening dusk. A distant chime rings softly, its sound fading as quickly as it arrives, swallowed by the rain. The shadows deepen further now, blurring the edges of familiar shapes into soft obscurity. Each breath you take feels heavier, more substantial, anchoring you to this quiet space. The rhythm of the rain is a constant pulse, a gentle lullaby against the silence. A sense of profound stillness settles over everything, a blanket woven from twilight and rain. The rain continues its steady descent, each drop a tiny whisper against the window pane. A single lamp glows softly in the distance, casting a warm circle of light that barely penetrates the deepening gloom. The air grows cooler now, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and quiet blossoms. Shadows lengthen and twist, transforming ordinary objects into gentle, abstract forms. A faint mist begins to rise from the ground, swirling slowly like a silent dance. Time seems to slow further, each moment stretching out long and languid. The rhythmic pulse of the rain deepens, becoming almost tangible against your skin. Somewhere far away, a single star flickers faintly through the veil of clouds. A sense of quiet contentment settles over you, a feeling of being held within stillness. The world outside fades further into soft obscurity, leaving only the gentle rhythm and the deepening peace. The rain continues its steady descent, each drop a tiny whisper against the window pane. A faint warmth emanates from beneath the blankets, cradling you in gentle comfort. The star's light shifts subtly, a pale glimmer lost and found within the swirling clouds. Shadows lengthen across the room, deepening into pools of quiet darkness. A distant chime rings out, soft and fleeting, carried on the breath of the rain. The air grows heavier, saturated with moisture and the scent of damp earth. Time seems to ripple outwards, blurring the edges of thought and sensation. A single candle flickers nearby, its flame dancing in a slow, hypnotic rhythm. The feeling of stillness deepens, wrapping around you like a soft, silent embrace. Even the rain's sound softens further, becoming less a noise and more a gentle presence. The candle's light pools on the stone floor, a warm amber glow that doesn't quite reach the corners of the room. Outside, the rain continues its steady descent, each drop a tiny whisper against the window pane. A faint mist gathers near the baseboards, swirling slowly like smoke without fire. The scent of damp earth deepens, mingling with the quiet fragrance of beeswax from the candle. Shadows lengthen and shorten imperceptibly as the flame dances its slow ballet. Somewhere far away, a single owl calls, a low resonant hum that fades into the rain's rhythm. The stone beneath you feels cool and solid, a grounding presence in this shifting stillness. A sense of timelessness settles over everything, blurring the distinction between past and present. The air itself seems to breathe, expanding and contracting with an almost imperceptible sigh. The candle's flame shrinks slightly, then flares again, maintaining its gentle, unwavering pulse. The rain continues its steady descent, each drop a tiny whisper against the ancient stone. A faint mist rises from the ground, clinging to the lower reaches of the trees like a soft veil. The candle's light dances across the damp stones, painting fleeting patterns that dissolve as quickly as they appear. Beyond the circle of light, shadows deepen and lengthen, becoming one with the encroaching night. A distant stream murmurs, a constant quiet flow carrying secrets downstream. The scent of wet earth and moss fills the air, a comforting fragrance that settles deep within. The owl's call echoes again, fainter this time, swallowed by the rain's persistent song. A single leaf detaches itself from a branch above, drifting slowly downwards in a silent spiral. The stone beneath you remains unchanged, a steadfast anchor against the shifting world around. Time seems to soften at the edges, losing its sharp definition and blending into an endless present. The rain continues its gentle descent, each drop a tiny whisper against the leaves. A faint mist rises from the forest floor, blurring the edges of distant trees. The lamp's light flickers softly, casting elongated shadows that dance with the breeze. Moss clings to the stone, deepening in color as it absorbs the moisture. Another leaf releases its hold, joining the first in a slow, quiet fall. The air grows heavier, saturated with the scent of damp wood and blooming ferns. A distant stream murmurs, a constant low hum that vibrates through the stillness. The shadows lengthen imperceptibly, stretching across the ground like sleeping creatures. The stone feels cool against your skin, a grounding presence in the fading light. Everything is softening now, dissolving into shades of gray and green. The ferns unfurl slowly, their fronds a deeper shade of emerald in the muted light. A single firefly begins to blink, a tiny pulse against the deepening gray. The stream's murmur deepens slightly, becoming almost a sigh within the quiet space. Moss clings to the stone, soft and yielding beneath your hand, a gentle cushion. Higher above, the last sliver of sunlight fades behind the trees, leaving only a diffused glow. A lone owl calls softly in the distance, its sound swallowed by the stillness. The scent of damp earth blends with the sweetness of the ferns, creating a comforting fragrance. Shadows pool around the base of the ancient trees, deepening into velvety darkness. Time seems to slow further, each moment stretching out like a long, quiet breath. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves overhead, whispering secrets only the forest knows. The breeze continues its slow dance, rustling the ferns with a sound like quiet sighs. A single firefly begins to blink, a tiny spark of light in the deepening gloom. Shadows lengthen and soften, blurring the edges of the trees into indistinct shapes. The damp earth breathes out a cool mist, clinging gently to the moss-covered stones. Higher above, the stars begin to appear, faint pinpricks against the darkening sky. A distant stream murmurs softly, its sound a constant, gentle pulse. The scent of ferns intensifies slightly, mingling with the cool night air. An old stone lantern glows faintly nearby, casting a warm circle on the ground. Time drifts onward, measured only by the slow shifting of shadows and starlight. Everything settles deeper into stillness, embracing the quiet peace of the forest. The lantern's light softens, its edges blurring into the deepening blue of the night. A single leaf detaches from a high branch, spiraling down with an almost imperceptible grace. The stream's murmur deepens slightly, resonating through the moss-covered stones. Shadows lengthen and intertwine beneath the ancient trees, becoming one with the darkness. Cool air drifts across your skin, carrying the faintest whisper of damp earth. Starlight filters through the canopy above, dappling the forest floor in silver light. The scent of ferns lingers, a quiet comfort woven into the stillness. A distant owl calls softly, its sound fading quickly back into the night's embrace. Time flows like water, smooth and continuous, without beginning or end. Everything breathes slowly, deeply, in rhythm with the ancient forest. The silver light shifts, deepening the shadows beneath the trees. A gentle breeze whispers through the leaves, carrying the scent of damp earth and moss. Fern fronds unfurl slowly, reaching for the filtered starlight above. Somewhere deep within the woods, a stream murmurs its ancient song. The owl's call echoes again, fainter this time, almost swallowed by the stillness. A single firefly drifts through the air, blinking softly with a pale green glow. Roots twist and turn beneath the surface, anchoring the trees to the patient earth. Time continues its slow dance, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. The forest floor breathes with the rhythm of the night, cool and damp against unseen roots. A distant lamp flickers gently in a small cottage window. The firefly's light traces a lazy circle, disappearing then reappearing amongst the leaves. Shadows lengthen and soften as the moon climbs higher in the sky, a silent observer. Dew settles on the moss-covered stones, each droplet reflecting the faint starlight above. A gentle breeze whispers through the branches, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine needles. The lamp's glow pulses softly, a steady heartbeat against the deepening darkness. Roots beneath the soil shift almost imperceptibly, a slow, ancient movement. Tiny spiders spin delicate webs between ferns, glistening with captured moisture. A lone owl calls distantly, its sound fading quickly into the stillness of the night. The forest floor remains cool and quiet, absorbing the sounds of the world around it. Time flows like a river, smooth and unwavering, carrying everything along in its gentle current. The moss on the ancient stones deepens its green, a quiet accumulation over countless seasons. A gentle breeze whispers through the leaves overhead, barely stirring them from their rest. Distant fireflies begin to blink, small points of light in the deepening twilight. Raindrops cling to the petals of night-blooming flowers, reflecting the faint starlight above. The scent of damp earth rises, mingling with the fragrance of pine needles and decaying leaves. A solitary stream murmurs softly over smooth pebbles, its rhythm unchanging and calm. Shadows lengthen slowly across the forest floor, blurring the edges of trees and undergrowth. A small gray cat sits motionless, watching the shifting patterns of light and shadow. The air grows heavier with stillness, a comforting weight settling over everything. Stars appear one by one in the vast expanse above, each a tiny spark of distant light. The cat's eyes, like polished stones, reflect the faint glimmer of those first stars. A gentle breeze whispers through the leaves, barely disturbing their stillness. Each pebble in the stream seems to hold a memory of countless passing nights. Higher above, the darkness deepens, swallowing the last traces of twilight's glow. The scent of damp earth and pine needles drifts on that quiet air. A single firefly begins its slow dance, a tiny pulse of light in the growing gloom. The stream continues its murmuring song, a constant lullaby to the forest. Shadows pool beneath the trees, deepening into shades of indigo and gray. Time seems to soften at the edges, losing all sense of urgency. A distant owl calls softly, a low hum resonating through the quiet woods. The firefly's light drifts, a silent question mark against the darkening leaves. Each pulse fades slowly, then returns with quiet insistence. The stream's murmur deepens, becoming almost felt rather than heard. A gentle breeze stirs through the branches, barely rustling the highest leaves. Indigo shadows lengthen and blend, swallowing the last hints of twilight blue. Somewhere, a moth circles a distant lamp, drawn to its faint glow. The scent of damp earth rises, cool and comforting against the stillness. Time continues to flow like the stream, steady and unchanging. A single star appears, a tiny spark in the vastness above. The owl's hum fades into the background, absorbed by the quiet night. The star grows a little brighter, reflecting softly on the still surface of the stream. Shadows lengthen from the trees along the bank, deepening the quiet blue of twilight. A gentle breeze whispers through the tall grasses, barely disturbing their slumbering forms. The moth continues its slow dance around the lamp, a silent spiral in the fading light. Dampness settles on the leaves, clinging to them like a soft gray veil. Further away, another star joins the first, then another, until they begin to populate the darkness. The scent of damp earth blends with the faintest hint of pine needles, a familiar comfort. A distant field mouse rustles softly in the undergrowth, unseen and unheard by most. The stream murmurs its ancient song, a continuous flow into the deepening night. Everything slows, everything softens as the world prepares for rest. The stream's song deepens, a low hum against the stillness of the trees. Each star above seems to pulse with its own gentle light, growing ever so slightly brighter. A wisp of fog drifts across the field, blurring the edges of the distant hills. The scent of pine needles strengthens just a little. Shadows lengthen and soften beneath the ancient oaks, pooling like dark water. The field mouse pauses now, its tiny form still against the damp earth. A single fire flickers into existence, then fades again, a brief spark in the vastness. The darkness itself feels thick and comforting, a gentle blanket wrapping around everything. Time seems to ripple outwards from the stream, slowing each moment just a touch more. Above, the stars continue their quiet procession across the darkening sky. The stream murmurs on, a constant whisper against the stillness of the night. A wisp of mist rises from its surface, clinging to the cool air like a sigh. Higher above, the stars seem to deepen in color, their light softening with each passing moment. The field mouse remains motionless, a small silhouette against the mossy bank. Shadows lengthen and shift imperceptibly beneath the ancient trees lining the water's edge. A lone owl calls softly from afar, its sound swallowed by the vastness of the night. The scent of damp earth and blooming honeysuckle drifts gently on the breeze. Each star seems to pulse with a slow internal rhythm, mirroring the flow of the stream. The darkness continues to deepen, becoming more profound, yet somehow more peaceful. A single leaf detaches from a branch above. The leaf spirals slowly, catching the faint starlight as it descends. Below, the water barely ripples, accepting the falling leaf without a sound. A distant firefly begins its dance, blinking with a gentle amber glow. The stream continues to murmur, a constant quiet song against the stillness. Shadows lengthen and soften beneath the ancient trees lining the bank. Higher above, the stars seem to settle deeper into their places in the sky. A faint mist begins to gather near the water's edge, blurring the outlines of things. The scent of honeysuckle intensifies slightly, a sweet and heavy fragrance. Time seems to slow further, each moment stretching into an eternity of calm. The owl calls again, even softer this time, almost as if sighing with contentment. The mist curls gently, like a sleeping cat stretching its paws. A single firefly blinks into existence, then fades again, a fleeting spark in the deepening twilight. The water reflects the starlight now, a shimmering expanse of silver and gray. Each ripple spreads outwards with deliberate slowness, barely disturbing the stillness. Further along the shore, reeds sway almost imperceptibly in the quiet air. A distant light flickers within a window, warm and steady against the cool night. The honeysuckle's fragrance drifts further, mingling with the damp earthiness of the mist. Shadows lengthen beneath the trees, deepening into pools of quiet darkness. The owl's soft sigh seems to echo across the water, a gentle pulse in the silence. Time continues its slow descent, each breath a deeper invitation to rest. The distant light remains, a constant ember against the darkening sky. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves, whispering secrets only they understand. The mist thickens slightly, softening the edges of everything it touches. Water laps softly at the shore, a rhythmic sighing in the stillness. Shadows pull deeper still, absorbing the last vestiges of twilight's glow. A lone firefly begins its dance, a tiny spark in the vastness. The honeysuckle scent intensifies momentarily, then fades back into the damp air. An unseen moth circles slowly near the window, drawn to the warm light. Time flows onward, measured only by the deepening blue above. A quiet stillness settles over all things, a blanket of peace descending. The firefly's light pulses, a gentle rhythm against the darkening trees. Shadows lengthen and soften, blurring the edges of familiar shapes. A distant owl calls, its sound swallowed quickly by the stillness. Dew begins to gather on the grass, tiny jewels reflecting the fading light. The moth continues its slow orbit, a silent guardian of the window pane. Each breath you take mirrors the quiet expansion and contraction of the night. The blue deepens further, blending seamlessly into the black above. A single leaf detaches from a branch, drifting downwards with effortless grace. The scent of damp earth rises, mingling with the lingering sweetness of honeysuckle. Everything slows, everything softens, everything settles deeper. The lamp's glow, a gentle amber pool, expands ever so slightly with each passing moment. Shadows lengthen and soften against the weathered stone wall, blurring into indistinct shapes. A distant owl calls, its sound a low hum swallowed by the stillness of the night. Rain begins to fall, a whisper against the leaves, barely audible but steadily present. The scent of honeysuckle deepens, layered now with the cool fragrance of wet moss. A small stream murmurs nearby, its water reflecting the faint starlight above. The wind sighs through the tall grasses, creating gentle waves across the field. Each ripple on the surface of the stream mirrors the slow dance of the stars. A solitary cat sits watching, a dark silhouette against the fading light. Time seems to fold in upon itself, each moment blending seamlessly into the next. The cat's eyes, like polished stones, absorb the last traces of twilight. A single firefly begins to blink, a tiny pulse in the deepening blue. The stream continues its quiet journey, carrying fallen leaves on its gentle current. Shadows lengthen and soften, blurring the edges of the field into indistinct shapes. The wind's sigh deepens slightly, rustling the grasses with a rhythmic hush. Above, the stars grow brighter, their light diffused by the thin veil of night air. A distant owl calls softly, its sound swallowed quickly by the stillness. The water reflects not just starlight now, but also the faintest glimmer of moonlight. Each blade of grass bends and sways in a slow, silent dance with the breeze. The cat remains still, a quiet guardian of this tranquil space. The scent of damp earth rises, mingling with the cool night air. A single firefly drifts past, its light a fleeting spark in the deepening blue. The water continues to ripple gently, each movement barely perceptible. Shadows lengthen and soften, blurring the edges of familiar shapes. The breeze whispers through the tall grass, carrying with it the scent of distant wildflowers. Above, the stars seem to pulse softly, their light a constant, quiet presence. The cat's eyes reflect the starlight, twin pools of silver in the darkness. Time seems to slow further, each moment stretching into an eternity of peace. A distant stream murmurs a lullaby, its sound barely reaching the stillness here. The air grows heavier with sleep, a comforting weight upon your eyelids. The lamp's glow softens, deepening the shadows that dance along the walls. A gentle breeze whispers through the tall grass beyond the window pane, a sigh of contentment. Each star above seems to breathe with its own quiet rhythm, expanding and contracting almost imperceptibly. The cat shifts slightly, curling tighter into itself as if absorbing the stillness around it. Dust motes drift lazily in the lamplight, tiny galaxies swirling in a silent ballet. The stream's murmur deepens, becoming less of a sound and more of a feeling within the air. A single leaf detaches from a distant tree, falling with an almost impossibly slow descent. Darkness gathers at the edges of your vision, a soft embrace welcoming you further inward. The weight on your eyelids grows heavier still, a gentle pressure easing away all tension. Everything fades into a quiet hum, a vast and peaceful resonance. The air itself seems to thicken, a warm stillness settling over everything. A faint scent of damp earth and moss drifts in on the quiet breeze. Shadows lengthen imperceptibly, stretching like silent rivers across the ground. The lamp's glow softens further, its light pulling gently around you. Each breath you take feels deeper, a slow expansion and release. A distant owl calls, a low resonant hum that fades into the stillness. The falling leaf continues its descent, a tiny spiral against the darkening sky. Time seems to lose all meaning, dissolving into an endless present moment. Your body grows heavier, sinking deeper into the comforting embrace of rest. A sense of boundless peace settles within you, quiet and complete. The lamp's gentle glow softens, casting long shadows that stretch and sway with the quietest of breaths. A single star appears in the deepening blue above, a tiny spark against an infinite canvas. The air grows cooler now, carrying the scent of damp earth and fading blossoms. Below, the river flows onward, its surface reflecting the muted colors of twilight. Each ripple is a silent journey, endlessly repeating itself in slow motion. A distant firefly flickers briefly, then vanishes back into the stillness of the night. The falling leaf drifts further down, carried by an unseen current of air. The world outside fades to shades of gray and indigo, blurring at the edges. Even the sounds diminish, the rustling leaves, the distant murmur, all softening into quietude. Your eyelids grow heavy, a gentle weight pulling you deeper into tranquility. The lamp's glow softens, casting long, quiet shadows across the room. A single star appears in the darkening sky, a tiny point of light far away. The air grows cooler now, a gentle breath against your skin. Dust motes dance slowly in the lamplight, suspended and still. The scent of old wood and quiet stillness fills the space around you. A faint breeze whispers through the window pane, barely audible. The falling leaf continues its descent, a silent journey downwards. Indigo deepens into violet, swallowing the last traces of blue. Your breath slows, matching the rhythm of the quiet night. Everything settles, the world outside, the room within, and you.